Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the powerful lessons from a novel called Op Deepo Bhava, and it tackles a challenge I think we all feel. How do you find your own light when you're just surrounded by screens all day?
And this quote from the book, man, it just perfectly nails the paradox of our world, doesn't it? We have all the information and history right in our pockets, but somehow, so many of us feel more lost than ever. It's this quiet struggle that a lot of us are dealing with.
So, to really get into this, the book introduces us to a character named Ravi. And Ravi is probably a lot like you. He's smart, he's ambitious, he has goals, but he's also what the book calls a digital zombie. You know the feeling, right? Trapped in that endless scroll, feeling your potential just getting hijacked by algorithms, staring into that blue light late into the night.
So, what's really going on in our brains when this happens? Let's dive into the core of the problem, which is basically a neuroscientific trap that's designed to keep us hooked.
It all comes down to something called the dopamine loop. See, every single time you get a notification, a message, a like, your brain gets this tiny little hit of a pleasure chemical called dopamine, and it feels good. But just like any addiction, that little reward fades fast, and the loop demands to be fed again and again, leaving us feeling anxious and constantly checking for that next hit.
And this brings up a really crucial distinction the book makes. There's a huge difference between what it calls earned dopamine, that deep, lasting satisfaction you get from a real accomplishment, and digital dopamine, which is just that fleeting high from a notification. One actually builds you up while the other just leaves you wanting more.
Okay, but this story isn't about despair, I promise. It's about breaking free. So how does Ravi start to dismantle this digital cage and actually find his way back to himself?
Well, he meets this incredible mentor, Dr. Swati Mishra. Now, she's a fascinating character. She's a neuroscientist who completely understands the brain's wiring, but she's also deeply connected to ancient Indian wisdom. She knows the cure for what Ravi's going through isn't a pill. It's a complete shift in his consciousness. Her method is really unique. She calls it story therapy. She has this belief that the life stories of great sages aren't just history. They're like powerful algorithms for the mind. So she uses them to help Ravi first diagnose what's wrong, and then literally rewrite the destructive patterns running in his brain.
So how does this actually work? I mean, how can these ancient stories offer practical solutions for someone like Ravi, stuck in the modern world?
First, Dr. Mishra tells Ravi the story of Sushruta. You might have heard of him. He's known as the ancient father of surgery, a man who basically built a world of incredible precision from scratch.
Get this. Sushruta practiced making surgical incisions on pumpkins. He mastered piercing veins by using hollow lotus stems. The lesson is so powerful. A lack of resources is never an excuse for a lack of ingenuity. I mean, if he could become a master surgeon using vegetables, what's stopping us with all the technology we have?
Next, Ravi learns about self-governance from the legendary strategist Chanakya. Chanakya's whole thing was that mastering the world around you has to start with mastering the world inside you. Chanakya's ancient strategies for running a kingdom, things like persuasion, incentives, and discipline, are presented here as a kind of neuromap. It becomes a guide for navigating all the personal and professional challenges we face, turning that chaotic inner state into a well-run kingdom.
Ravi's journey then culminates with the timeless wisdom of probably the most famous sage of them all, Lord Buddha.
And right here, this is where we get the title of the book. In his final moments, his disciples asked him who would guide them after he was gone. And Buddha didn't appoint a successor. He told them, Op Deepo Bhava, be your own lamp. The ultimate key to liberation is to find the light within yourself, not to look for it from some outside source. Now, what's really important to understand about Buddha's middle path is that it's not about extreme denial or wild indulgence. It's about balance. It's a sustainable path to well-being that, funny enough, modern science has a term for: homeostasis. It's that state where a system is in perfect equilibrium.
So Ravi has all this wisdom now. He has the tools, but how does he actually put them into practice to finally break free and change his life?
What we see is transformation unfold over a 30-day digital detox. And the journey starts with real withdrawal. Feeling those phantom vibrations in your pocket, that almost physical ache for a notification. But slowly, that shifts, and he finds himself in this fertile creative silence where his own thoughts finally have room to breathe. In the end, Ravi writes his first real poem in years, and this one line just captures his entire realization perfectly. The illumination he was so desperately seeking from the digital world
was just a cheap imitation of the real light that comes from human connection and self-awareness.
And this brings us to the core question of the book, which is really a question for all of us to reflect on. Once the constant noise of the digital world is silenced, where will you begin to look for your own authentic light?